Good evening. Welcome to ExPat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Here at ExPat Insights, we take external views of internal successes of foreigners and immigrants who have made Philippines their home. Tonight, we are extremely fortunate because I have two guests who are not from any specific country. They come from a variety of countries. One was born in America, raised in Japan. The other one was born in Chile and raised in Spain. They both live in the Philippines, and they run a BPO outfit called Volenday. My guest tonight, Patrick Linton, the general manager.
Yes, in marketing and sales.
Yeah, marketing and sales. And the founder, Julio Endara, Spanish, Chilean, the founding CEO. And founder.
I'm acting as CEO at the moment, and I have also another business partner with me. But yes.
There they are.
Yes.
So welcome them. And our topic tonight, besides talking about their culture, their background, and the business of BPO, we will talk about work-life balance in the BPO industry. So welcome to ExPat Insights.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Right. So let's start with you. Tell us a bit more about yourself than what I just mentioned.
Okay. Shall I start?
Flip a coin.
All right.
The guy with the shiny shoes starts.
Okay.
Oh, that's you actually.
Okay.
That one. Okay.
Yeah, so I was born in the United States, so I am American.
Yeah.
And that reflects in the way I look at work and the way I work, obviously. But I was raised in Japan, raised in Singapore.
Wow.
And these cultures play a role in my day-to-day life and the way I make decisions.
You are a total global citizen there.
Or a confused global citizen, right?
A
So
very confused
no specific hometown, but which means wherever I am, I make my hometown.
That's beautiful, actually. Not confusion, but that's really Confucius.
Oh.
Yeah. So let me ask you about your first impression, first visit, or your journey into the Philippines, because this is a show for the Philippines by the Filipinos. Okay. Yeah.
So I first came to the Philippines in, I think, I first came as a teenager and visited from Singapore.
Right.
And we were doing some work in some of the rougher areas of the town of Metro Manila.
Rougher areas of the
town.
town.
So some of the slum areas.
Really?
And we were
with
doing
your
work
folks?
with my folks and with another group, a group of people doing children programs with
really,
kids.
An NGO.
NGO type of work. Yep.
Wow.
So that was my first time to the Philippines. Was as a kid.
Tell us about the work you did. This is interesting. It's much more interesting than work-life balance.
What's that? No, I know.
Yeah.
We went to different areas of the city, and actually I think there were 3 areas. I can't remember the names, but we'd go into these kind of harder hit areas. Yep.
Yeah.
And we just we'd play with the kids. So we'd go in. We'd set up. Games with the kids. We'd talk to the kids.
Your folks
do
were
lessons.
missionaries?
No. My parents' business. My father's in business.
Right.
But we'd work with the kids, play games with them, and so that was my first impression of the Philippines, which is children.
Amazing. This is 70s or 80s?
This is 90s. This is mid 90s. Yeah.
Good. So I caught you off guard with that subject matter because we didn't want to discuss that. Here's what I tell you. If you remember some of the stories, I want you to share them as you come along. Hey, Mr. Endara, Senor Endara. So bienvenidos. Is that right?
Yes, perfect.
So tell us about yourself a bit and your journey to the Philippines.
Yeah, fantastic. So just trying to make the story short, but so I was born in Chile, South America. Grew up in Spain. Then during my university years, family migrated back into Chile. So finished university there, work over there, and then at some point early in my career, I decided to start migrating as well as my father and my mother did. Went to the UK, and since then I haven't stopped actually. So I've worked in the UK for 5-7 years. Went around to the US as well, Australia. I've been in India as well.
Wow.
Had a great time over there.
Right.
And at some point in 2009, I thought that it was a good time for me to go from corporate to start a business. Right. So I evaluated different countries, mainly Costa Rica, because the Latin American connection.
I hear Costa Rica is beautiful.
It's very beautiful. I haven't been there, but I've talked to people that have set up a shop there, and then it's a good place to be. And the other place I actually evaluated was India. And also lastly, the Philippines. Ended up deciding for the Philippines because I still have the other co-founder, my partner Alwyn, that I knew him from time ago, and we had a very good relationship, and that also plays a big important part of a decision, right? To know who you're working with and where you are going to do business going forward. And also talked to my family, and we decided the Philippines was for us, and that's how it started in 2009.
You know, I want to ask you a couple of questions, actually. I've got 2 minutes before we come to a break.
Sure.
So the question on my mind, before I forget, is number one, why did you choose? What are the factors for you choosing Philippines over India?
Yes.
Because we've been running neck to neck as far as the Bpo industry is
Yes.
concerned, no? But I want to hear it from you. Why
Yes.
did you finally make a decision on the Philippines, number one? Two is, what's more fun in the Philippines for you now?
So on the first one, it's actually difficult. I think actually the main factor was that, knowing somebody that I trust.
Over here?
Right, over
Okay,
here in the
yeah,
Philippines
all right.
was really important. I knew people in the Philippines, but I didn't have somebody with the relationship I have with my partner, right? So that was really, really important. There are other factors as well, right? The Philippines is more Western on a typical day-to-day life,
Correct,
right? And it was
correct,
important
yeah.
for me, particularly coming with my family, right? So my wife and my daughter at the time had 2 years only, and that played a big part on the decision as well, right? I wanted to make sure that that they were going to feel comfortable. Not that they would in India. I mean, they have traveled a lot and they like everywhere, right? But for a more longer-term perspective, I thought it was going to be more near to their culture and my culture.
Correct. Yeah. Folks watching, Julio's wife, Mr. Endara's wife, is Venezuelan, and she'll be coming on the show in a few minutes. She's driving down from Alabang, and that's why he's talking about his wife being a different culture. So that was a choice. The choice was, number one, you had somebody you trusted.
Yes.
One.
Yes.
Two, Philippines is slightly more westernized, a little more
Yes.
open, and a little more, the culture is easily adaptable to your kind of culture, your background, Spanish culture. That's why you chose Philippines. No?
Yes. Now, the one thing I would say in there is that you also have to be careful because it looks very similar, but there are also many differences.
Yeah. Tell me
Right.
about it. Of
Yeah,
course. I mean, when I say tell me about it, I mean I know. Yeah.
Yeah, of course you know more than me. You've been here for
Yeah.
much longer, right? And amongst expats, we talk about these things, right? And there are many differences, and it's easy to just sometimes concentrate on the similarities, but you have to pass that barrier as well and understand more the Filipino culture to really integrate and to really be successful in business as well as have a good life. Right? Otherwise, sometimes you feel like fighting with the system, right? And that should not be the case. Yes.
That cultural differences that you're talking about, the minor one, that almost invisible differences between Latin culture and a Filipino culture is something that maybe perhaps at the latter part of the show you can tell me a bit about it.
Sure.
Because I think it's very important that people in the BPO industry and also Filipinos understand that though we consider ourselves to be like the Spanish people or the Latin people, there's still some fine differences, no?
Absolutely.
So 2 minutes before the break, tell us a bit about the business, Volenday. Volenday is what you represent, both of you gentlemen.
So I'll start it and then let you
right.
give more detail. Patrick is on the sales department, but basically we're doing 3 things right now. Right, so one of them is technical support. We're also doing software development, and we also act as a recruitment agency. So we hire people and we put them in other companies, in BPOs and call centers as well. So those are our 3 main core businesses. And we've been doing that.
Software, recruitment, and
technical support.
Technical support.
Yes. So that's and actually I came for the technical support part of it, and then things went in different directions. Right now we are 300 people, and has been a exponential growth, right? That has been fantastic in terms of the learnings, right? And how to go to that size and at the same time keep the vision right on where we're going, and at the same time be able to be flexible. But anyway, give you some space.
Yeah, I mean, the way I summarize it usually is I just say we're a technology and workforce solutions provider. So,
nice,
you know, we focus on, when it comes to technology, we focus on software development, whether it's creating tools that can help people do business better, or if it's just giving you the people that you need to actually create the tools that you already want to create.
Really good, It's a good niche, actually, a really good niche.
I think it's a little bit out of the non-voice space, which is a growing space here. And it's in a lot of the higher skilled types of work that we're focusing.
Sounds good. Let's take a little break. Sure. Let's take a 1-minute break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Volenday, because I need to understand that technological and workforce solutions a bit more. Absolutely. And then we'll talk about the thing that we are here to talk about. So stay with us.
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Julio Endara and Patrick Linton from Volenday. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Good evening. Welcome back to Expert Insights, and we are with Julio Endara and Mr. Patrick Linton of Volenday LLC, Volenday, Philippines, no?
Yes.
And we are talking about work-life balance in the BPO industry. So they just finished telling us a bit about Volenday. So let's go to the subject matter of work-life. And you can start anywhere you wish. That's the fun part of this show. You can talk about the definition or the effects or the causes of work-life balance. So kayo ang bahala.
Okay, so I would like to start with some definitions, actually, now that you mentioned that. And I remember you were talking about the stress and work-life balance. And one thing that I would like to speak about is stress and what is stress. Because I think there's some confusion sometimes in confusing stress with just a lot of work. It's different, right? Stress, to me, is about when you feel you are not in control. Right, when there's an overwhelming feeling that something that is not going to happen, that you want to make happen, right?
Great.
You are losing that control.
Great.
Overwork is just a lot of work. You have to finish things, and maybe you can still manage it. But when it goes the other way, that you cannot manage it, that's a stress, right? And can have very negative consequences, right? Physically as well as psychologically.
Amazing.
And that's important to know,
Amazing.
right? And I was fortunate enough to, and to tell you a little story, right? I was fortunate enough to know that in my early in my career, when I was in Chile working, and I was a young project manager, right?
You were what, sorry?
I was early in my career, and I was a project manager, right? Developing some software with my team, and things were not going in the right direction, right? And I was early in my career again, so I wasn't too sure, right, how to steer the ship to make things happen, right? And fortunately, I knew about the stress, right? And I realized, oh, something is happening here.
You understood stress, even though you were very young.
Exactly. So I understood this is not just a lot of work. I'm not knowing how to steer this to drive it to the right location, and therefore I also knew what to do, right? I asked for help. I went to my lead and I explained the situation, saying, look, we have an issue here, right? I need more resources, I need more time, whatever it is. And he was very good, and he understood the situation, and we worked together, work with clients and come up with a solution and get out of that situation, right? If I hadn't done that, right, probably the project wouldn't have gone well and would have affected me personally and my team around me, right? It's all about the people.
Yeah. That's you're saying. You're saying stress is lack of control over work and life.
Yes.
While a lot of work is not necessarily stress.
Yes.
If you imagine. So that's your definition.
Exactly.
You know, I'm glad you told me that, because as I was climbing up the stairs of the studio, I was thinking, I've got so much work ahead in the next 8 weeks. I've got to do 5 interviews. I'm traveling to 4 cities. And I said, man, I am like overwhelmed with work. But I'm not concerned. I'm happy. So I said, where is the stress? I should be stressed given the amount of work that lies ahead of me, but I'm not. So thank you for clearing my head about that stuff.
Anytime.
Your point on stress, Patrick.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe going back to the work-life balance thing, I think it's very relevant in the BPO industry here, right? And that's probably why you chose it, because we're in a 24-hour industry. It's very hard to balance out when do we stop working, when does life begin. When I first came here for business, I was up in Baguio. And up there I was working about 4 or 5 months of nights. So, you know, the typical call center
4 or
type
5
of
months
straight. Every day was just, you know, the night shift, as they say here, the graveyard shift.
But 4 or 5 days a week, not a month.
Sorry, 4 or 5. I was there for 4 or 5 months, and during that time, you know, it was straight
all night work.
All night work, right?
Right.
And I think it's hard to balance when it gets to morning and you finish work and you go back and the sun's coming up and emails are coming in and you know you want to keep going. And I think you have to take care of yourself and rest. And people here, it's amazing how people figure out ways to balance that out.
I've seen people in other industries, not BPO industries, but normal manufacturing industries, and even today, each one of these engineers, whether they are in admin or technology, they get about 200 and 300 emails a day. And none of them today, in today's world, can disconnect themselves from their laptops. I'm thinking, what the heck, you're engineers, go out there, pick up a plier or a wrench and do something, you know? And they are on emails. And this is
You're speaking to something that
we want to talk about.
Yeah, we really want to talk about that.
My son spent a little time in the BPO industry, and man, he used to take sleeping pills and waking up pills, and then he always used to look. Now he's not. Now he's not. So I'm a little thankful about that. So bring it to the BPO industry. That's the downside of the BPO industry. Not the money that coming in, or not the kind of work, or the kind of expansion it is experiencing, but the downside of it is work-life balance. So what do you recommend?
So first of all is to know yourself, right? There's no one formula for work-life balance, right? So a corporation trying to set rules, policy to say, okay, this is the way you are going to live your life, and this is how you're going to work, so it fits. That doesn't work, right? It helps to a point, of course. There's certain things that are basic and core that you have to do. But individually, right, if we're talking about a person, not the company, right, but as a person, you have to know yourself and what stresses you out, right? What are the areas you want to bring back
You're
into
speaking
control?
Confucius.
Am I
know yourself. You know, my name's Julio Endara. What do you mean know yourself? You know?
But that's important, right?
Well, what do you mean know yourself? Define that.
So in terms of the stress and work-life balance, it's understanding what is going to get you over that edge and where you don't feel in control. Right, and in my case, what it is about is knowing what is in the road ahead for me to do. Right, everybody has to-do lists and notes or whatever. Everybody work it out in different ways, but everybody has a list somewhere, even if it is on their head. Right, which is a dangerous place, by the way. I'm going to talk about it. It's a dangerous place to have the list on your head. But anyway, everybody has a list on things that are supposed to be done. Right, and in my case, if I don't know that list, I feel stressed because I know there are things hanging around, right, and that I don't know about. As I put it to one colleague of mine some time ago, I don't mind missing things to be done as long as I know that I missed them. It's my decision. But I hate it when something is missed and I didn't know about it. That's stressing me out.
Will you slow down on me? This is good stuff. It's good stuff, and I don't want to forget some of the essential. So you're saying, number one, know yourself.
Yes.
That means who you are and what you want.
Yes.
So it's about alignment.
Yes.
It's about personal vision. Am I clear on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Then you're saying is don't have a list on your head.
Yes.
Well, how do you translate that in Tagalog or in Japanese? Because you speak Japanese. What do you mean not have a list on my head? So that means not be obsessed by deadlines?
It's actually literal. It's actually literal. Yeah. So sometimes if you have something that you have to remember, that will stress you out. If you have a place where you write it down, you can now forget about it because you know you can go back and remember it.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually literal.
So have a backup disk.
Yes.
Backup memory.
For me, it's all about dumping everything out. So anytime something comes into my head or a to-do or I need to remember something, it's about getting it out, whether it's on paper, whether it's inside a personal productivity software.
Also backing up your files.
It's getting everything out there.
Carrying an extra hard disk with you.
Of your head.
Of your head. And a lot of that's not processed either. So it's just stuff. It might not even be an action. It might just be something you're waiting for, and it doesn't. You can't control that.
Right. Fantastic.
And one thing we're doing.
The third one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Two was have a list.
Yes,
have a list outside of your head.
Yes.
What is the third one you meant?
The third one is actually the mechanism of doing that. Right. You need to have a way. You have to have a method, and ideally a tool to help you in doing that. So one thing we are doing right now in Volenday, because everybody has the same problem, right? And it's interesting you touch upon email. One thing that everybody needs is a tool to put that list down.
An application, a big desktop application.
Yeah. Exactly, right. Yeah. Ideally on the web. Because that list, by the way, of things to do don't come only from your head. It's the people around you.
Yeah.
Right? And many of the things come via email. Or sometimes you have to dump those things to do over other people. And what do you use? Email. And what we have found now through research, and this is not something that we are innovative about. I mean, many people is talking about it, but we're doing something about it, is that email is not the right tool to do workflow management and to assign tasks and to work on that. Because once you send that email asking somebody to do something, then trying to remember that you asked first, then trying to find that email, trying to find the answer, right? It drives you crazy, right? And you waste a lot of time and effort.
When I was with this bunch of engineers and managers in a company that I'm working with, I'm consulting with a company, and each one of them has 200, 300 emails to go through a day. And I'm thinking, back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, if there was an executive who was busy, or let's say an executive who we all know, Clark Gable, a very successful person, or Paul Newman from the 60s, very busy person, no email, no iPhone, no PDA, nothing. they still were successful, right? That means they still had a lot of things to do. How did they manage? And if we are putting in so much time on our PDAs, how useful is that? How do we still succeed as they did and not be slave to this technology? So is that something that you are looking at?
Absolutely. So we are right now in pilot mode. We have a tool that we have built in-house to help on that. So our goal is at some point for internal communication, we don't want to use email anymore, right? Because it's just a waste of time, frankly, right? So when you want to talk to external parties, of course, you have to go through traditional mechanism. It's funny to say that email is traditional now, but right? but internally, right, we do have much better things, right? You can manage your to-dos, you can manage processes and services, and when you want to know what are you supposed to be doing and focusing on, then you have a place to go, right? Because life is a little different now as it was in the past. We have many more interactions, many more communications. They have to go somewhere.
Right? Great. So let's take that. So you have a little system. You said know yourself, get the list out, and have an application or something outside of you that will help you manage it. No, Patrick, how about the emotional side of it? How about the BPO employees who stand outside and smoke like hell? You know, you've seen them all. I go every time, whether it's a day call center or nighttime, and they're all smoking out there, drinking coffee and beer. There's a lot of emotion and other stuff that is involved. What is your take on that?
Well, and here, I guess, you know, if I understand emotion as working within the culture here, perhaps, if I take it that direction.
All right.
You know, work-life balance, the words, I assume came out of some Western country. I would
Wikipedia.
Not sure, but really, the assumption, the underlying assumption of work-life balance is that there is work, and work is different than life, and you need to have life separate from that. And life is maybe more enjoyable or something that you need to focus on having. Right. Whereas here, the line between work and life and personal and business is not as defined.
It's totally gray.
Right? It's a gray area.
Yeah.
And so in our company, in Volenday, we try to work within understanding that it's very important who people work with, just as much as the work that they're doing.
Amazing.
And you know, we try to, as we were saying before, we try to institutionalize that and try to work within that culture. So a lot of times, work-life balance means that some of the life parts are happening at work.
Right. So you're not creating any distinction between work and life. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Let me just. We have a couple of minutes before we take another break. No. I want to highlight Google's culture and the culture of Infosys from India. I hear that both of these companies, these large corporations, are doing well in terms of work-life balance. So what is your take, quickly, in 1 minute each, on this? These two examples, unless they're competition to you.
No, I was in Google's Asia-Pacific headquarters last 2 weeks ago in Singapore, meeting with them and talking about some of the great work that they're doing in AdWords with small businesses across the region.
Right.
And you see the culture the second you walk in. Right, so it's that Silicon Valley. Everybody's wearing polo shirts. There's free drinks. There's free food. Well, free. I mean, for employees, right? And so their culture is very distinct, and it's who they are and what they're about. I haven't been to Infosys. I'm not sure, but you know, when it comes back to creating our culture and what Volenday is and what we stand for, I think there are things we can learn from there. That said, we really have to focus on results, and one of our core messages and our core values, right, is work hard, persist, get things done, figure it out until the clients are satisfied. And in our industry,
there's a lot of independence for the employee, for the executive.
So
and I want to touch upon something as well there in terms of the mix of work and life, what you were saying, but I think it's very interesting. So we follow a methodology for measuring engagement, right? It's people engage with what we're doing, right? And we follow a methodology that we borrow from a book, right? We read the book, we like the book, and we follow it. And there are 13 questions in there. There's one question that is really important there, which is, do you have a best friend at work?
I know that one. I know that culture. You're talking about the research company that came up with that framework, and I have used that. That's very good.
And the part I like is that
they
don't say
exactly.
They don't say, do you have a friend? Do you have a good friend? It's a best friend.
Somebody you can trust and open up to without being afraid. Fantastic.
Exactly.
Because you need that venue.
Yep.
Hey guys, time for a break.
Right.
Yeah, and right after the break, we are going to have Mrs. Julio Endara to come and take the seat of Patrick Linton. Patrick, thank you very much for sharing your insights about the work-life balance in the BPO industry, and wish you Godspeed and good luck. And I understand that Patrick has an Asian wife. It's such a global setup over here. So thank you for being on this show, and we'll catch you some other time then, one more time. Thank you very much.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
So stay watching, and you are watching Expat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. We are with Mr. Julio Endara and Patrick Linton, and we'll come back with Mr. and Mrs. Julio Endara. Stay watching. Good evening. Welcome back to Expat Insights, and we are talking about work-life balance in the BPO industry or in the Philippines with Mr. Julio Endara of Volenday, and Julio's partner, Patrick Linton, has been replaced. Julio's partner at work, Mr. Patrick Linton, has been replaced by his partner in life, Miss
Lorena
Endara from Venezuela. And we're still talking about work-life balance. So we'll talk about life balance rather than work over here. So hello, welcome to Expat Insights.
Thank you to invite us.
So what's your designation in Julio's life?
The wife.
The wife, the commander, the boss.
The boss.
Yeah.
And in real life, I mean, any profession that you practice?
Well, I'm orthopedic technician. I used to work for the NHS, the National Health Service in UK. That's where we met in London. So that's my background, yeah.
So tell us about Philippines a bit. Why do you love the Philippines? I'm putting words in your mouth. Why do you love the Philippines?
Well, here is first thing, the weather. I love the weather.
You do?
It's quite similar to my country, so that's part of the reason. Very hot. And second thing is I like to help the projects that they have here, like charity work, and be engaged with my family, like to work with my daughter in her projects and things like that. So
it's good living, you know, you do something valuable outside in the community and peaceful at home.
That's right, yeah. So it's something that you feel quite well as a human to helping other ones. So it's a lot of charity work here.
How different is your day in the Philippines compared to a day in Venezuela?
Well,
take a day from your life in Venezuela and take a day from your life in Philippines.
Well, I left Venezuela 10 years ago, so when I was in the university. So I should compare with London, that I was all day in the hospital, so working all day.
Right.
But here is just more familiar, quite entertaining to do things with the kids and to adjust in another projects and do things for you, for study or any kind of things, personal things.
Are there a lot of Venezuelans in the Philippines? You're the first Venezuelan I've ever met, by the way.
There are quite a few. I don't know the number right now, but it's more than 30.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
There are Colombians, I assume.
Yeah.
There
I think
are
it's a
some
bigger community of
Colombians are bigger.
Yeah, and Mexican too.
Mexicans
so
too, yeah.
In general, Latin American ladies club, we run in a club here. Is people from everywhere.
Diverse cultures, yeah.
Yes.
So how balanced is Senor Endara's life? So when he comes home, does he walk home straight? Does he practice what he was preaching about a while ago?
Well, he really does in the term of stress. So he can control that things that I don't going to get stressed easy. I'm the opposite, so I'm more Latina. So
you, okay.
Yes,
yeah.
if I don't like something, I have to do it. If I want to smile, if I want to laugh, if I want to cry, things like that. But he's more under control. He's like a computer machine.
Is he? But he said his definition of stress was that when I'm out of control, that's the time I'm stressed. So you're right about that, no? So that applies to him. How about the other things he mentioned? That keeping a list out of his head was one, and having some kind of technological backup.
The list for him worked perfectly. He has a list for everything. When we travel, you made your list? No, I haven't made my list. Well, you have to
He makes
have
you
your
make a list too.
for everything. So he's quite organized with that.
How do you relate to that? How do you react? You say, come on, I can manage this. I don't need to have a list outside.
Well, normally
I'm a Latina. I know how to think.
Normally, women say, we like to keep all the things in your mind.
Right.
And when you are in the car, oh, I forgot something. We have to go back. So it's that never happened to him because he has his own list and he's quite prepared.
But it's also the stereotype, what I think is actually true, that we men find it difficult to have many things in our head and to do more than one thing at a time. However, women are much better than us on that, so maybe they don't need the list, right? In my case, because I cannot do it, right, it's something I have to work with, then I have to build the list and know where I'm going, right? But
I don't know if that's stereotyping. I think that's there's a little bit of truth in it. Women can do a lot of stuff. That's why if you know the Indian goddesses with 10 hands, they are a representation of women, and they used to launder, look after kids, cook, clean, wash, drive, go to the grocery, come back and be an orthopedic surgeon at the same time. Right? Isn't that amazing? So tell us a bit about his business now. Bring it back to Volenday, the discussion. And you were saying that you help people find their engagement, increase their engagement using a certain framework. No?
Yes. So it's a long journey that we're just starting. We're very new in the company, so we're still defining the culture and trying to drive to it. So we're starting with how do we want to measure, right? If you don't know what are you measuring, then how do you know if you're doing wrong or right, right? So we do follow methodology. We have certain questions that we put out there to our staff to understand how are they feeling, how are they doing. So we can take action into things that are not going that well. It's a journey, and it will be, I think, a never-ending journey, right? And also, if you take into account our growth, right, we're now 300, it has happened in very few years, right, and it's going to carry on the same way. So things that we decide to do now may not be applicable in the near future. Right?
Cite an example of an intervention. Something needed some kind of adjustment and fine-tuning in terms of engagement within Volenday, no? And how did you analyze that? How did you pinpoint the solution and apply it? Can you cite an example?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many, but to pick on one, right?
Simple one, so that
a simple one that I think everybody, expats in particular, would recognize is communication, right? Difference of communication styles between the Filipino culture and clients on the West, particularly in the US, right? So how we realize about that? Well, the customers tell us things, right? They tell us, look, I mean, I thought they told me yes, but it wasn't.
I called up your guy.
I called up, right? I thought they say yes, but now things are not happening.
Not sure,
right? That's typical, right? So the non-confrontational way of the Filipino culture of explaining, look, it seems like a no, where in the West side they expect more of a blunt answer, right? And again, we've talked about this before in terms of this no wrong or bad, it's just different, right? So we understand that, and then what do we do about it, right? So we try to explain, right, to our people, but also explain to the client. Look, there's some things that you have to look for different clues, right? But the real solution is to put very good management, right? So at the beginning when we were growing, right, we were kind of understanding the workspace, and little by little we have been putting very good managers that understand the culture. Right now, for example, our director of operations has been here, is a New Zealander from New Zealand. And he's been here for 17 plus years, married with a Filipina, with Filipino teenagers, right? So he's in both worlds.
Well, his work life is totally balanced.
Absolutely,
right? When he's at home, he's at work. When he's at work, he's at home.
Exactly. So he understands both cultures very well. He's in a position that he will look at both very objectively and translate and map, help clients, help our people, so at the end we're all successful in business.
You mentioned that you also talk to the client. You don't make any adjustments in your client. You just explain the situation. Like when you said that if there is a little drop in the quality of communication between your executives and your clients, so you don't do any work on the client, you just explain the situation. Am I right? This is what you said?
Yes. So right now in the space we are, we can coach. We don't have as much leverage. Right? At some point, we want to get into that niche, right? We want to get a little more into their business and talk with the clients and be a little more, we have more power, basically, right? To be more persuasive and explain the changes that they should also do. But for now, we're taking a stand of, okay, we're the service provider, we'll coach, and together we'll get there, right? But at some point, we want to get a little more involved.
Do you, just one question here, huh?
Absolutely.
If you don't mind, Lorena. No?
No problem.
So if you have that kind of a challenge, do you do structural changes, process changes, or do you change behaviors? What do you work upon out of the three?
Both, actually.
All three, yeah?
Yeah. So we work on every angle. I don't think there's one. It's complex, right? We're talking about people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And no matter how many
Right.
systems you put on top, right? At the end of the day, is do the person want to do it? And if they want to do it, right, then do they have the process around? Do they have the technology around? So we can make this happen together.
Right. So it's not just about one aspect of creating the change, but all 2 or 3 levels have to be moved.
I wish it was that easy. Right?
Fantastic. So Lorena, tell us about the charity work that you do. Do you have challenges out on the streets with culture or your personal work-life balance? You don't do much work though here, no? So, but your charity is your work.
The charity take a lot of time, so it's a proper work. So you have to get involved with them and the problems that they have to try to help as much as you can. So we, as a Latin American ladies group, we
There
support.
is a Latin American ladies group,
Yes, we have here.
In Alabama?
No, they are
All over.
running in Makati, but we have communities everywhere. So we join once a month, and we're doing some charity work every month, and we support different institutions, and we try to collect the money and help them for another kind of things. Not only the money, just health support, education, improving with the English, with the schools, and also...
Can you cite an example or a story of something your group is working upon right now? I wish you brought pictures. Usually people, when they talk about the social work they do, they bring in some, but the key can share a quick story.
Yeah, well, we support a house called the Holy Family. It's running for a Colombian nurse and a nice community of girls. They are 30 or 32 girls, and this nun, she's just helping them and giving the values and environment, like a
Colombian
house.
nun. A Colombian
nun.
Yeah.
She's been here quite long. And after they finish the school and they go into university, they start to apply for proper work. So this kind of ladies, they can go to companies like Volenday and different ones here, just to start to train and continue and improving. And they do it not because we are helping them. It's because they have the knowledge and they are preparing, but it's the background that is under. So all the work that the nun does here, and all the Latin American support that we provide them. So it's kind of
quite satisfying too.
Great.
So tell me now, what does the future hold for Spanish, Chilean, Venezuelan person and the company you run? What does the future hold for you two first in your life?
I think the most important thing right now is the new baby coming.
Right, so okay. I can see that. I don't have the camera. I can see that, okay.
So in a few months, right, end of June, early July.
Do we know if it's a boy or a girl?
Second daughter,
It's a girl.
One more girl. Fantastic, okay.
Yeah. So that's the first thing, right? That's the most important and our focus right now, right? So we stop all traveling. We're focusing on that being a success.
Very
and having
important.
time.
That's really creative stuff, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do what I did on my first kid, which I took a sabbatical. I took a year away from work, just to dedicate myself to the family. Lorena will say that I still work, which I probably did, but in general I was not.
You were here in the Philippines at the time?
No, we spent our time between Venezuela and Spain, where our families
when you were having your first child. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we did, and that worked fine. At the moment, I can't do that, but still, I'll be around. Yes.
Do you guys speak Spanish at home, or Latin, or Filipino, or English? What do you do?
Totally Spanish. Yeah.
Totally Spanish. And who speaks better Spanish between you two?
Well,
whose Spanish is the real Spanish?
My Spanish, of course.
Okay, I get
of course. Yes.
All right. And what's the future for Volenday then, with Patrick Linton? Yeah,
it's fantastic future. So we're doing a lot of changes in our organization to keep growing, right? But keep growing in a sustainable way and diversifying our business. That's really important for us. So right now we are almost 300 people, and we have very clear plans of growth, and probably we're going to diversify a little our niches of work. I mentioned before what we were doing, but we're going to add different
technological
things.
And workforce solutions.
And funny enough, one of the things that we are looking very seriously is what we were talking before, that tool about helping on...
What's the name of that little program that you're designing?
Right now, we have a code name internally.
You haven't given it a name yet?
We have given an internal name, which is Black Box. But we're going to look for a more commercial name very soon. And that's one of the areas that we're likely to start leveraging more, right? As soon as we go over the pilot internally and we can prove some success and case stories, then we're going to go out to the market most likely.
That takes a lot of investment, doesn't it?
It does.
You know, and it's risky. I mean, this is out of that discussion, but when you want somebody to design that name, call me in for some creative thinking.
I will do. I will do.
And so thank you very much for being on this show on that note. Both of you, Mr. and Mrs. Endara, and talking about Volenday and talking about your charity works, and of course giving us the tips on work-life balance. If you'd like to summarize the whole discussion or the value that you have added to this show, this is your time, Mr. Endara. About work-life balance in the BPO industry.
Yeah, I will go by what I was saying at the beginning.
Know thyself.
Yeah.
Keep a list outside.
Yeah. And have a tool. Have a system.
Have a system.
Have a system.
And then Patrick mentioned something. Patrick mentioned about emotions. Emotions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all about it, right? I mean, when you're talking about the stress and things are getting out of control, then it's not on your brain anymore. It's going down to your guts, right? So you're going to feel it more on your emotions than anywhere else.
Right. And Senora.
Thank you for having us, and well, it's a lovely experience to be in the Philippines and to help people around and to be here. Yeah, it's just a blessing.
Of all the places that you might have visited in the Philippines, what was the most fun?
Oh, that's so hard.
Really? How many places have you visited?
For me, it's easy. At home, right? Wherever we are.
Home is the best place.
Seeing the wife and the daughter there. That's
and you?
Well, I love Bohol. That was an amazing place for us. Yeah, we really enjoy.
And in the city, what's your favorite place to haunt? In the city of Metro Manila.
I stay in Alabang.
You're cool with that. You're
I
cool
will
with that.
keep Alabang.
How about you?
Probably true, right? We went there trying to escape pollution, and because our daughter was not great on with the smoke here, and we are so happy that we did the change. I still travel to Makati almost every day, but at least they are over there. It's more calm, more peaceful.
Cool in Alabang.
Yeah, exactly. And you have everything there as well. Yes.
Okay, gracias and muchas gracias for being on this show. And if you want to say hello to your colleagues at Volenday and say bye to Patrick now because he's watching, this is your time to give the last famous words on ExPat Insights on that camera. So
fantastic.
You want to talk to your people?
Yeah, sure. You have told me to prepare.
Huh? To your folks in...
I see.
Yeah, okay.
So, well, it's great to be here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the team behind us. I mentioned that we are almost 300 people already, and without the good work that everybody is doing, I wouldn't be able to spend time here, right? At the end of the day, my job is to promote the company, right? And if things were not running well in the company, I wouldn't have this time. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for that. And
sure
keep the good work.
Good boss. How about you, madam? To your ladies' club friends.
Well, say hello.
Hola.
We are here just to support these people, this charity work, and I appreciate all the support that we've been doing during these 3 years already, and still working. We have another year to work in the Latin Ladies Ball, and let's see you. Let's see you.
All right.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. All right, thank you for watching ExPat Insights. Those were our insights on work-life balance. Next week on ExPat Insights, we'll have the ambassador of Sri Lanka, Mr. Kuri, and we'll have a gentleman called Tim Bennett, who will talk about a program he's running in December 2012. Good night and mabuhay. Have a great week.